Morning, please be seated.
Application 1 of 2021 State Wage Order pursuant to Section 50 capital A of the Act. Decision.
The year of 2020 was, by any measure, an extraordinary year. The outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic had a major impact on workplaces throughout the country. Governments, both Commonwealth and state, introduced unprecedented emergency measures, both health and economic, in an endeavour to respond. The impact on employment and the cloud of economic uncertainty created by the pandemic was referred to by the Commission court session in the 2020 state wage case. Whilst the Commission increased the state minimum wage by 1.75%, given the exceptional circumstances and the great uncertainty at the time of the Commission's decision, the increase was deferred to 1 January 2021. We are again required under the Act to make a state wage order to come into effect on 1 July 2021. In making a state wage order, the Commission is required to weigh in the balance a number of factors, which may be broadly described as economic, social and industrial. We are required to specifically take account of the needs of the low paid, to consider contributing to an improvement in living standards for employees, and the capacity of employers as a whole to meet the cost of any increases in the state minimum wage. We're also required by the Act to have regard to the state of the economy of Western Australia, which factor has assumed particular significance in this year's state wage case in terms of both the outbreak of the pandemic last year and the recovery of the state economy from the second half of last year to date. The outbreak of the pandemic had a profound impact on the state economy. The necessary social distancing measures implemented had the effect of reducing the capacity of many businesses, leading to temporary or permanent closure. Many employees were stood down or lost their jobs. Working from home became commonplace. Levels of underemployment were high. A consequence of this was the largest contraction in the state's economy ever recorded. The June quarter 2020 measure of the domestic economy, state final demand, fell by 6.2%. Unemployment peaked at a very high level of 8.7% in June 2020, reflecting a loss of 103,000 jobs over the period from February to May 2020. Household spending slumped by 11.1%. Whilst these were the circumstances confronting the Commission in the 2020 state wage case, the circumstances before us in this year's state wage case are very different. The state economy has rebounded strongly and has returned to a growth path far more quickly than anyone forecasted. Buoyed by the strength of the mining and resources sector, positive signs of economic recovery have been across the board, such that all of the jobs lost from the outbreak of the pandemic have now been recovered. Household consumption, consumer confidence and business confidence have returned. Retail spending has been very strong right throughout the pandemic period. Whilst the accommodation and food services sector has also recovered strongly, it is still somewhat short of the level it was in the March quarter of 2020. The Western Australian economy is the strongest of all the states and the territories. However, risks to the outlook remain. The prospect of further lockdowns and other restrictions in response to outbreaks cannot be discounted. We acknowledge that these steps have an effect on industries covered by the state wage order. Additionally, the cessation of the Commonwealth JobKeeper program on 28 March 2021 appears to have had only a temporary stalling effect in the labour market, without causing any ongoing major difficulty. Job growth and hours worked continue to improve. Unemployment is trending downwards. In balancing these various considerations under the Act, we have decided that the state minimum wage should be increased by 2.5% to $779 per week. As for the implementation date of the increase, we note that the Fair Work Commission in its annual wage review 2020-21 deferred the implementation of the adjustment for those employees subject to the General Retail Industry Award to 1 September 2021. For those employees subject to 22 different modern awards within various industries, including aviation, tourism, theatre and performance, sports, restaurants and licensed clubs, the deferral was to 1 November 2021. This was on the basis of the impact that COVID-19 response measures have had in different industries and sub-industries. We note that the majority of national modern awards will receive an increase in the federal minimum wage from 1 July 2021. It is not possible to replicate this outcome in the statutory framework applicable to the state wage order. State awards do not mirror the coverage of national modern awards, and the implication of the state wage adjustments into state awards would result in logistical impracticalities in applying a deferment to some groups or categories of employees and not others. In this jurisdiction, a determination must be made by the Commission that applies to all industries, businesses and employees. The application of a deferred adjustment will result in some employees receiving a wage increase months after their national system counterparts. Similarly, a determination not to defer an increase will result in wage increases being applied in other cases some months before the national modern award adjustments are made. In 2020, we deferred the increase in the state minimum wage by 6 months because of the exceptional and unprecedented circumstances of the pandemic and its economic impact. However, since that decision, the material before the Commission in this year's state wage case shows that the forecasted economic downturn was not as significant as predicted. The present economic indicators are far more positive than for 2020. Whilst we acknowledge that there are some risks associated with outbreaks and measures to respond to them, we are not convinced that the present situation is exceptional. In balancing these issues, we have determined that the operative date of the increase in the state minimum wage will be 1 July 2021. We now publish our reasons for decision and minutes of proposed general order. Should any party wish to speak to the minutes of the proposed order, we'd be grateful if you would inform us, please, and set out the issues you wish to raise in writing by 12 noon, Monday, 28 June 2021. Thank you very much. We'll now adjourn.
You stand adjourned.